Hello everyone, it's James from Keeping It Anime, and today we'll be talking episode 3 of the We Never Learn anime series. Now, does this series pass my 3 episode rule challenge? Well, if you don't know what a 3 episode rule challenge is, it's basically something that I technically do personally, but I know quite a lot of other people that watch anime or any other TV series do as well. And that is to give a series 3 episodes, and if the episodes don't entice them or keep them involved or enjoying the series, then they drop the series after 3 episodes. But you have to stick with it for 3 episodes and no less. And I'll answer that question at the end of this review. So, we start off with a situation in where Eureka is talking to the principal, and this principal basically says if they don't get average scores on the midterms, then the kindest thing to them would be to make them change their career choice. And then Eureka doesn't really like this idea, but he has to put up with it because his VIP recommendation is on the line. And that was actually kind of good because it comes full circle in just a minute. But then once Eureka leaves, we find out that Fumino and Rizu are basically walking past the principal's office, and they hear what Miss Kirisu says afterwards. Eureka doesn't hear this, bear in mind. Only the girls hear this, and Miss Kirisu suggested that if the girls fail, then Eureka should be released of his tutoring duties, forever, in teaching these girls in what they want to do. Which just kind of makes sense because he's there to help them. But this scene kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. Because here's why. In the last episode, I like to think that each We Never Learn episode has a little bit of a meaning towards it. And last episode, I would have a guess that the meaning in last week's episode was keep trying, even if you fail, and eventually you'll succeed and have fun doing it. And that was a really good message to give across to your audience, but then they kind of give that a backhander in this opening act of the episode by basically saying if they fail, that's it, they're done. We give them too many chances. That, it kind of contradicts what they were doing last week, but oh well. So then we get a study montage where Eureka is at Rizu's sort of restaurant because he's helping her study for her test. And we get like a comedic scene between Eureka and Ogata's father, and obviously herself as well. But we also get to see a little bit of development from Eureka and Rizu herself. Eureka basically states that he's going to keep helping the girls regardless of the results. And he also states that he wants them to succeed regardless, putting aside his VIP recommendation, he wants them to do well. That's why he's helping them. So he's gone from basically someone who wants to look out for himself and is just helping these girls because, he's getting something out of it, to basically helping them because he wants to. It's slow progression, and it's only episode 3, so I'm not too worried about that. But it's still nice to see. We see Eureka blush in this episode, especially multiple times actually. He blushes for each of the girls. And Rizu's time is when she comes out in her work uniform. Basically, the girls all blush as well in this episode because Eureka tells Rizu in her blushing scene that he will keep teaching them no matter what. So they study. Great. Time for the test. She goes into the test feeling very confident. And she finds out that on the test, only half of the stuff that they covered is actually on the test, and the other half she hasn't learned. We all have been in this situation, and she does what anyone should do, and that is to just give it a go and try your best and go into it. She thinks about giving up because of the situation, but then she remembers that Eureka, the one who's taught her everything that she knows, or most of it, is the one tutor that has never given up on her, when all the others have. And she wants to repay that trust and that faith by doing the best she can and not giving up herself. And that was great. A little bit of character development, and it shows a lot of characteristics from this character. I really liked this scene. It was very small, but it was quite impactful. She's thinking back to all of her sort of tutors as well, so that's a very nice scene in the way they did it. And it turns out she succeeded. She got 71% on her test, which is above average. So ding ding ding, she passed. Now it's time for Fumino. Fumino. Well, she gets ill. Basically, while everyone's celebrating Rizu's pass, she's ill. She has a very high fever, and we actually get a scene where we go to her house. It's not really a house, it's more like a mansion. And Yuiga does the classic sticky situation scene, where he walks in on Fumino and Tomoko getting dressed. He then gets, pushed out and called a pervert, everything else. You know the joke. It's happened twice already. And we find out that Tomoko can cook. Yeah, she can cook. She may be crazy and slightly fewer marbles than everybody else, but she can cook, and it looks pretty good. Like, if she was on Food Wars, she might make it through to chapter 10. Just saying. And, yeah. We have a bit of comedy here with, obviously, the interaction between Yuiga and Tomoko, by basically saying that she looks like a housewife, and you know how her character is. She takes, like, something that's very small and completely explodes it in her mind and goes absolutely crazy with it. Classic her style. And then we get the fact that Fumino gets better, and something that Yuiga has said to her has basically made her get a better grasp on, solving maths questions. Which, okay, fine, I can kind of understand. But at the same time, she passes her test with 68%, and it was kind of lackluster, if I'm honest. It didn't have the same impact as, say, Rizu passing a test, because we saw how she was, like, learning and developing and trying to get better. And Fumino, she was basically just ill. She woke up, did the test, and boom. She didn't get as high a score, but she still passed. You know how it's like when you revise day in and day out, and then, your friend never revises at all, but he still gets, like, a better score than you? It kind of felt a bit like that. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so then we get to the second part of the episode, which was kind of disappointing and kind of diminishing for a character in particular. And this whole episode was kind of, if I'm honest with you. But we have a Tomoko and Yuiga interaction. We've had the other two girls in this episode, might as well go 3 for 3. And, I wanted to like this bit, but I really couldn't. So we get introduced to two new friends of Tomoko, which I'll put up on screen, and they basically pick out a dress for her to wear that's completely not her style, and tell her to go get Yuiga and see what he thinks. It then escalates into a couples competition, where Yuiga has to basically bridal carry her and hold her in that position. She then starts thinking, oh wait, I put on more muscle, what about if he thinks I'm heavy? I can't live with myself if he thinks I'm heavy. And then she starts to cry. Not loudly, but Yuiga notices. And he's wanting to give up because he feels like he can't do it. And then, again, he sees her crying and then he goes, wait, she's so embarrassed that she's doing this for me? I must go Super Saiyan, I must go beyond! And then he basically wins the competition, and even after this this little kind of not giving up scene, Tomoko basically still says, oh no, now what if he thinks I'm sweaty? Like, trying to make the gag and make it go longer, when already it's kind of died off. We then have a slight interaction between the two at the end, where she thinks she's announced her feelings to him, but she kind of hasn't. And the problem with Tomoko at the moment that the anime is kind of doing, and I know it's only episode 3, so I'm not going to criticize too hard, but they're making her character out to be a really dense, thick character. They're making her out to be someone who basically isn't really in the same league as the other two. And quite honestly, I really don't care about Tomoko as a character at the moment. Like, that's the effect she has on me. Her stupidity is almost Goku level. Like, that's how bad it is. Like, all she's good for at the moment is swimming, and they overplay comedy for this character so much. The first time in this episode that we see this character, she has a goofy face. Every interaction with Rizu, a goofy face. You know, talking with Yuiga, her mind goes from 0 to 1,000 in terms of crazy scale, just by a little tiny comment that he makes. Yes, I understand it's a personality, it's her character trait, but they're kind of emphasizing and going over it way too much. They're dragging a dead horse, as the saying says. I don't know, one small gripe I've got at the moment, but hey, this episode has some good voice acting, brilliant music. I like the music in this episode. I still love the opening. Opening's brilliant. Animation was pretty good and consistent throughout. I liked the animation. Overall, it was a solid episode, but I just wished they focused more on the first half instead of splitting it into two and then having this really lackluster interaction between Yuiga and Tomoko at the end. You know, I wished we had more more studying development from Fumino. I felt like she was a bit rushed in that regard. But hey. So yes, the 3-episode rule. Will this series be an anime that I carry on with? Yeah, sure. It will be. I absolutely love this series, and yes, it's probably a little bit of bias because I love the manga. But I'm liking the series, regardless of some of the flaws that it's got. So, now it's time for you guys to let me know what you thought of this episode. Did you enjoy it? Are you enjoying the series of We Never Learn so far? Let me know down in the comment section below. I look forward to seeing your answers. But, until next time guys, this has been the review for episode 3 of We Never Learn. And I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me. And have a great day, wherever you are in the world. And I hope you keep it anime. Later.